Before I start answering the title of this video, let's fix it. Yes, let's fix it. Why? Because it is not a proportional term to describe this situation. Modern movies are not suck, or to be more specific, the bad movies existed all the time in the cinema history. If you go back to the 2000s or 90s or 80s, you will find them there too. So why does the audience hate that now? Why do we feel like we no longer enjoy modern movies? That's because the largest companies who used to make good movies, they are getting worse. So why does that happen now? Why do these companies take a new path that upsets the audience? Well, if we want to understand that, we should look at the most expensive movies in the last few years. You will find them either as a sequels, prequels, remakes, or reboots. And nothing new about that. There is lazy writing, overrated or trite, and a lack of creativity. They are trying to manipulate the audience's childhood emotion by making sequels or remakes of previous movies that were successful and likable. That's why we always feel that the first movies were so much better than their sequels or remakes. Maybe some of them work, but not all of the time. Take Disney's movies as an example. After making a lot of money from its brand, they start focusing on remakes of previous animated movies instead of making new things more creative, and it doesn't relate to an old movie that people loved once, which makes it more predictable and obvious that everyone knows what's gonna happen with knowing all the plot twists that could happen, which mean no surprise that will impress the audience. Why did they do that? Because they don't want to take some risk to make something brilliant and more unpredictable with all the profit they made. And like I said before, maybe some of these remakes worked and earned a lot of money, but some of them weren't like that at all. To see the whole picture, look at this budget and revenues for these remakes. Well, you are going to tell me these movies were successful. What are you talking about? Yes, you are right, but I'm going to tell you, you look at these movies financially and compare them with each other, not just between each other, but also with the original. If you take The Little Mermaid as an example and compare it to Cinderella, you're going to tell me that they almost have the same revenues. What are you talking about again? Yes, they are. That is why I choose them. And I am just going to tell you to look at the budgets for both of them. It is not the same, right? If the budget is not the same, then the profits are not the same either. Not just that, Cinderella releases in 2015 and The Little Mermaid in 2023. It means if you take Cinderella's revenues and calculate the inflation in 2023, you will notice a big difference. Not that big, but it's still big when you compare a low budget movie with an expensive one. And when you know that the half of the revenues go to the theaters, it means low profit for a big budget movie like A Little Mermaid. And if you compare it with its own original, of course, after the calculation of the inflation, you are going to understand what I'm talking about. Basically, what I'm trying to say, if the remake is more expensive than the original but has almost the same revenues, and if you invest more money in a movie based on an old one, you expect more revenue, not the same or less, but more. And you are going to understand more if you do the same with Aladdin, The Lion King, The Jungle Book, and Cinderella. Look at this list that I made to get my point across. Yeah, maybe these movies earned a lot of money, but not like they were supposed to. In conclusion, you are going to make a remake of classic animation, but you didn't get more revenue as you invested, you failed. And people are going to complain about that remake is just a remake. And if you change a lot of things in that remake, you just ruined the classic movie that audience liked once. This is exactly what happened with The Little Mermaid and Mulan. And I want to talk about Mulan because I feel like she summarized all the issues of the remakes. Take a look at the animation. It was so good, so convenient, funny and successful, while the remake was all the opposite of that. Why did that happen again? Basically, they changed a lot of things that the audience used to like about the original. They also made changes in Aladdin, The Lion King, and Beauty and the Beast, making them more longer and realistic. This last one I'm going to talk about it later, but not that kind of changes that is going to serve nothing in the story or overrun it. Like the final of Little Mermaid in the original, when the prince saves Ariel from Ursula by taking control of the damaged ship and steering Prior into her chest while she tries to kill Ariel. And that's how he proves to the King Triton that not all humans are bad. Well, that is not what happened in the remake, actually. Ariel did. She was the one who took control of the ship without even being in her human body form or knowing how or anything about driving the ship in a sea storm. That was not convenient at all. Or maybe when Ariel couldn't remember that she needed to get a kiss, that wasn't convenient either, especially when you know that if Ursula can lie about the deal, why she is going to bother herself with in the first place, she can literally cheat on the whole deal and deceive her. These two changes make a lot of difference in the whole story. Just that, without talking about other things like the personality of the character or being realistic. And the last one is fundamental to all the remakes because when you try to incarnate a live action movie based on an animation, you make it more real for what people expect to see in the real world. And that's what happened with this remake. The ocean was supposed to look dark, muted, and subdued. That is how the movie loses all the glitter, shine, vibrantness, and the liveliness of the original. Yeah, it is unrealistic, but it doesn't matter because it is just an animated movie. You make it with your own rules and your own imagination. And that's what happened with The Lion King when the animators embodied and humanized it. It loses all the charm and joy of the classics that we used to watch without talking about the changes in the remake. And please don't make me talk about the changes in Pinocchio or Peter Pan. Okay, oh my god. Let's go back to Mulan, where I started all of this. And like I said before, Mulan is a summary of all of these issues. So if we understand it, we understand everything, not because it failed, but why it failed. Let's start from the original in 1998, where Mulan made herself. She persevered, refused to give up, and trained enough to get stronger and more confident. While she wasn't like that when she joined the army. She was naive, lacking in confidence, and unsuitable among her fellows. She wasn't special in anything, she was just brave and patient, which made her work hard, face the difficulties encountered, and after that came the respect of others. And was so convenient and realistic. And this is how things actually work in our world. No one is born with some kind of ability or gets it by doing nothing. Well, that's what happened with the remake. She was just born with some kind of power without going through all of that hard work, training, and cunning. There is no growth in a character, and no one gets invested in a character like that. And that's why it failed. And please don't tell me it's because of Corona. If you look at the movies at that time, they got more revenue than Mulan. So what now? Corona is success? You can't blame a virus because it's doing its own job. Anyway, take this kind of empowerment and apply it to the whole movie. It leads us to the next point, which is the portrayal of a strong female character. First, I would like to say that there is nothing wrong with a strong female character, but the problem here is writing it. And Emily Blunt summarized this issue when she said the worst thing ever when you open a script and read the words strong female lead, that make me roll my eyes, already out bored. Those roles are written as incredibly stoic. You spend the whole time acting tough and seeing tough things. And she is actually right. We talk here about Emily, the actress who played a lot of strong female characters. You don't start your script by describing a strong female character as a strong female character. No failure, no weaknesses, no struggle, and no vulnerability. Then there is no chance for growth and development. An overpowered character destroys every character, not just the female character. And if you want to understand more, look at the Marvel characters. The Black Widow is a perfect female character. It is realistic and everyone loves it. By the way, Emily Blunt was supposed to play this character, but she didn't for some reason. Anyway, on the other side, you will find Captain Marvel, who faces no struggles at all. Maybe you can see it in the last failure of the MCU. It is an overpowered character because when you establish some kind of power and ignore it later, like Wanda or Wonder Woman, it is inconvenient when it comes to defeating the antagonist. And that is what happened with the Doctor Strange, Jane Foster, and Quicksilver. That is another issue, but you can put him in the same situation. Yeah, maybe it makes some cool scenes, but it's not convenient when you ignore it later for no reason. We can talk about an overpowered character in another video. It requires a lot of explanation. Whatever, you are supposed to build a character based on their pain, sacrifice, challenges, and difficulties that they have to overcome, either defeat an enemy or reach some goal or even change on a personality level by learning lessons or tackling weaknesses. All of these changes happen to develop the character and make it better in the movie, because that is how you make your audience empathize with your character. Weakness, failure, or fear do not define the nature of the character. They gave it a push to show the true essence of the character when it chooses the way to react to that failure. And that's why replacing a character instead of their original role, like replacing a white male character with a female or black character, obviously makes it fail before it comes to the audience. And that's exactly what happened with the MCU after the Endgame. This is not racist or sexist, we're just trying to understand how things work. Well, I'm going to explain this in my next video, which we're gonna talk about diversity.